There's Ellie.
Hi, Ellie. You're muted.
Oh, Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Thanks.
Okay, you're all set.
And Anya has shown up. Hello, Anya. Welcome as the latest representative of the town council to your
Hey,
first
Bill.
Ag Trust meeting.
How you doing? Hi, everybody.
Great. How are you?
I'm good,
Hey,
thanks.
Anya.
Hi, Ellie.
So
Hey, David.
we will call the meeting to order.
Hi,
Members
Ed.
present
Hey, Anya.
are Rusty Cabot, Wayne Montgomery, David Wexler, Michael Steers, Ed Miato, and Ellie Field. And we have guests of Anya Wallach and Cheryl Katie is here as secretary. Thank you for running the meeting, Carol Wardell. And our first order of business is to vote to seal the minutes from the December 2nd, 2020 executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Thank you. Next item is approve the minutes, review and approve the public session and executive session minutes. Oh, we already did the executive session. Oh, we sealed. Okay. Review and approve the public session and executive session minutes from the meeting of December 2nd last year.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Thank you. Correspondence. We received a nice donation from Roberta Capuano and Thomas Heffernan. Cheryl, will you generate a thank you note for that?
Yes.
Thank you. We have some correspondence about our insurance, officers and directors insurance, which sort of leads to a larger insurance discussion, which the way I would like to frame this is I'm looking for a volunteer or multiple volunteers to do some review of our insurance policies. These policies, I'm sure are good. They were put in place by Al West back in the day, but insurance policies are things you need to review now and then. Do I have anyone who was willing to serve on that group?
To do that, Bill.
Great, Ed, thanks. Cheryl, can you work with Ed on that?
Sure.
As far as
We just
getting
got the new policies in.
Great. Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
Statement of, the statement of purpose from Rhode Island Southeast Food Bank, this Thomas Young thing. This was a pretty cool document. I was impressed by it. And I think he's well organized. He's very articulate. He knows what he wants to do. He's working on his process to get there, and we may or may not be a part of it in the end. But I think my sense of everyone's feeling, and certainly mine, is that we are willing to serve if he comes towards us. Is that the group consensus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Email about David about the Zoom meeting. I'm going to let you, David, I'm going to let you and Cheryl work that out behind the scenes. And then we have a receipt from payment from Adler Pollock Sheehan. So that concludes correspondence. Treasurer's report, Wayne?
Okay. Treasurer's report, beginning balance, $2,600,276.78. Revenues from transfer tax, $1,111,620. Interest earned, $1,495.02. Okay, last month, that was just less monthly expenses was $6,575.40. And leaves us with a balance of $3,706,807.40. Uh,
Wayne, did you see the latest list of bills? If you didn't, I have them in front of me. Or
Yep,
is that not?
I have them right in front of me.
Okay.
I'm gonna go through those now.
Excuse me.
Able Engineering, $8,450. Cheryl Cady, $2,347.50. Mosaic Land Management, $3,877.50. Carol Traki, $190 even. And we have Carol Waddell with, I guess we have to discuss the amount. And Chubb Insurance, payment upon invoice.
And Rivas Law LLC for $2,844. That's
Right.
the one I texted you, Wayne.
Oh, yeah? I didn't see, I didn't get that, I didn't read that.
So that's Nelson related, which I can update you on that on the appropriate time, but I would say they earn that money.
So I think we have to discuss Carol's.
Yeah, so why don't we, let's do that. Can we do that now?
Sure, it's on the agenda.
Right. So let's see, I have it here. So the basic idea here for the board members is that Tony Texera has suggested that we, amongst other town boards, that Carol has been working hard to support through all this remote meeting times, managing the Zoom and associated public notices and running the recording and so on and so forth, deserves some compensation for that. And there's some information provided about that. We are talking about 8.84 hours. Tony
So,
has suggested, go ahead, Cheryl.
Billy, 8.84 hours is our exact meeting time.
Okay,
Carol's calculations up until tonight were for 11 hours. And I think that's the time, she would have kept her time better than our meeting minutes would have shown, because she has to come on Zoom
Yeah,
earlier to get us organized. So I think you're looking more at the 11 hours
on the
plus
second
whatever
sheet here.
tonight would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I think we can catch up with tonight perhaps later because we don't know how long we're going to be. But what I would suggest, first of all, personally, I'm in favor of supporting this suggestion by Tony and paying Carol for these hours. They've been invaluable to us. And I would invite discussion on that if there's any to be had. And if there isn't, I would suggest we move to pay her for 11 hours at $30 an hour, add $330 to our invoices tonight. Any discussion?
No, I would only suggest that I support the whole thing, but can't we approve the payment going forward rather than in the arrears after each meeting?
Yeah. I don't know. Can we? It's a procedural.
Well, maybe
thing.
not. I don't know.
I don't know either. Whatever the appropriate way to do it is, I'm happy to do it. I guess I should poll the members first. And are we all in agreement that we want to pay this? There's no obligation to pay this. I should say.
I think we should.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay, so we're all in agreement on that unanimously. We're thankful, Carol, for your efforts. So I think tonight we want to add $330 payable to Carol Wardell for services rendered to our invoices, and I'll figure out with Cheryl and Tony and Carol how to do it going forward the best way.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then
So can we just, because Tony wanted tonight to be included, so can we just maybe make the motion to pay Carol for the Zoom hour, for 11 Zoom hours at $30 an hour?
Cheryl, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I know
let,
he may
let,
have wanted that, but it's okay. Let it go because there's gonna be other invoices. I mean, this is
Okay,
not gonna go away. So,
Okay.
exactly. That's what I was just gonna say. It's not going away.
okay. I'll just explain to Tony tomorrow that we just did what was already invoiced.
Perfect. And then do we want to, do we need to put a frame around the Chubb insurance money?
So they gave us a printout. That's the last page of your bills. No, it isn't. It's the second to the last page. So the package is for $13.60. The umbrella is $16.32. Volunteer accident is $3.28, and director and officers insurance is $14.33. These are the numbers as long as no changes are made before February 1st, 2021. But I'm in the process of updating our spreadsheet for them on their form for the new properties we just bought.
Okay.
So those numbers may change. So maybe
what
they
I would
could just
suggest-
author you to approve payment of the Chubb insurance bills when they come in.
Yeah, but I want to put a number on it. I would like to add an amount not to exceed $5,000 to Chubb insurance as those bills come in to our accounts payable tonight, if we could, please. Is everyone agreeing with that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Because the numbers Cheryl just listed and that are listed in the packet here total 4709. So there's a little room there for movement if required. And if it goes over and we can't pay one of them, they can wait. They're an insurance company. So so do I hear a motion to approve and pay the bills as presented?
so move.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
So, but now we need a motion to authorize an amount not to exceed $5,000 for the payment.
No, we just put that as part of that's part of
Want it
the,
all as one?
yeah.
Okay.
Come on, catch up here. Just kidding. So Wayne, I guess we got the transactions is next, right?
Transfer tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 12 transactions for a total tax paid of $283,088.
Cheryl, did you review these?
The transfer taxes?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. They're good.
Well,
And there's, well,
I have a question. It looks to me like they've taken the total and added the total up with all the numbers already. So maybe it was 141,000, not 283,000.
Yeah,
oh, right.
two total lines there.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
the bottom total line isn't right.
It's doubled.
Yeah.
and
Thank you, Ellie.
Sure.
the item number 3090
Yes.
for Dennis Talbot's land, that was actually one lot. 'Cause they had merged that before the sale and they bought, it's now 7-3. And I went to see Denise and the deed reflects one lot of 7-3, so.
Okay.
that-
So the
that's-
lot numbers are incorrect on the transfer sheet.
Yeah,
But they,
Okay.
how many, what they said they take for exemption here? Do we have to claw back some money?
no, I don't think so. I think they
Oh, no,
took,
they took
Yeah,
one exemption.
one.
they
Yeah,
took
yeah.
one and we thought they deserved two, but they actually deserve one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good.
What about 3098?
I think 3098 is correct. There are two lots there. There also happened to be two deeds, which I think caused the confusion. One was for the lots and one was for property. Stoves, things like that.
Okay, so do we owe them a rebate?
Yes. I believe they took one and they deserve two.
Right. Okay. And then last month you had two transactions. 3068, two lots listed as transferred. One exemption was taken on the transfer. So I think we owe them $12,000.
Yeah, I think I didn't research the $12,000, but I did look to see that one was the Merrimans, and this was a situation where the driveway has a lot number, so they got 300,000 for the driveway, and I don't remember what the 3077 was. It was on Plat 1, so it must have been Compton Cliffs, two lots.
Yes, it is. They're back-to-back small lots, I believe.
Right, they are. I looked those up. Yep.
So 3068, they don't need a rebate?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
They only took one,
right,
and they deserve two.
okay.
And I
And then
believe that's
3077 needs a rebate.
correct, because they took one, they deserve two.
Okay.
Do we have to make a motion for that?
Yeah, we do. So Cheryl provided this summary transfer tax overpayments sheet, if you're looking at it. So I would ask for a motion to approve refund of these overpayments as detailed on this sheet.
Motion made.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
but while we're talking about this, I think in my conversations with Denise, we need to, we had brought up the subject of lot numbers on
Right away.
way or driveways and how that impacts us. And so she's in total agreement. How we do that, I don't know, but it's, this is a reminder that we need to do it.
Yeah, yes, I've talked to her about it as well, and we did sort of identify a possible route forward involving joint communication with the town council. So maybe Mike, you and I maybe can work on that with Denise
Okay.
in the next month or so. Okay, thank you. We voted on that, right? Yes. So
Yeah.
unanimously approve those refunds. So those will go into Mary Jane this month?
Joe?
Cheryl?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay, to Joe, yeah. Okay, very good. Thank you, Wayne. And moving on to old business, subcommittee reports, public awareness committee update. You got anything on the website, Cheryl?
No. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Stewardship committee, lease for Peckham.
This is the grape section.
Right, so they expressed their interest to continue their lease on the same terms. They weren't a part of our opening of the leases last month. So the question in front of us is, do we want to renew their lease? They were asking for 2 years at the existing terms.
I make that, I think we should. I had a pretty long talk with them and had to move along. I think we should encourage them. Any encouragement we can give them, we'll keep that as a farming property.
Great. I agree with that, David. Anybody else?
Are they gonna replant the grapes? Isn't that the area that they cleared?
Yeah, they don't, Mike, they don't, Wayne raised that question. I discussed it with them. They said they're not gonna do it within the next year, but if they decide not to, we can talk to them about it, but they don't, they're not about to approach that subject right now.
So under the terms of our lease, and I don't have it in front of me, but it seemed to me that Skip made a comment about that area. And so do they have the ability to sublease that to Skip on an annual basis? If they don't plan to put grapes or do anything with it other than mow it, can they lease it to him to plant? Under the terms of our lease?
I don't think they, even
Sub-
if they
sub-
had those, I don't know. Even if
Subleasing
they
is,
had that, they're not gonna do that. They don't wanna-
subletting is
they don't wanna
allowed.
Worry about
Okay.
his. And they don't wanna worry about his insecticides or his pesticides getting onto their grapes.
Skip tends to be organic, but anyway, that we can set that conversation up and that's fine. We still want to have a party there too. So hopefully we're vaccinated by June and we can have a party. So let's not rush into getting in the way of our tent.
Right.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to renew the vineyard lease on the current space at the current terms for 2 more years?
I'll make that motion.
Second, David, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you, everyone. It's unanimous. Contract stewardship update, Ms. Traki.
Well, as you saw in the invoices, there were 3 additional BDRs in the Colebrook area, the 2 in Fort Church and Cabral, which is right on Colebrook Road, that were done this month. And Cheryl, I'll have those 2 tomorrow. They're complete. There were no issues or problems found on any of those. I had a couple of comments on other properties, but I think they're all their own items on the agenda, so I can mention that at the time. And the best news that I have to share with you is that Julia had her baby on New Year's Day.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have the newest member of the Little Compton farm community, Cove Dominic June Trunzo. And everybody's doing great.
And when,
Excellent.
I have to ask, is she the first child in Rhode Island on New Year's Day?
He was born just before midnight on New Year's Day, so I don't think he made first in Rhode Island, but
It's
possibly first in Little Compton, given our general demographics, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice update. Good luck to Julia.
Yeah, so she'll be back to BDR soon, I'm sure, but it was a worthwhile little break for her.
Yeah, they have those front packs. There shouldn't really be any break in the workflow here.
I'll tell her you said that, Bill.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Apfel Simon survey needs. Where are we on this? I can't remember.
I think we're at a yes. Carol sent us a visual, a Google map of the
Right.
inspection and the current potential encroachment and the willingness of the landowner to understand exactly where the line is. So the time is right to establish that.
Great. So do we need Donnie or somebody then to go there?
Yes.
And can we do it for less than $8,700?
I certainly hope so. I'll find out.
Let's find out.
I'll try to get a couple of quotes.
Okay, thanks.
And
Mike.
I don't, how urgent do you think this is, Carol?
I don't think it's urgent, and it may or may not be an encroachment. I don't think they have any immediate plans to do anything further. It just seemed like they were active, they were engaged. The property doesn't have a BDR. If we're going to do a survey, I think that would be really smart, and now would be the time to do it.
Good, because your red line on the Google map made it look necessary.
Yeah, it's not at all clear. I mean, we
Okay.
could turn up a problem. We could turn up the fact that it's fine and we just don't know where the line is. But either way, it seems better to resolve it now.
So maybe I could get an allowance for 5,000, and I'll see if I can go find somebody to do it in a reasonable time frame.
Great. Do I hear that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Cheryl, this is to an amount not to exceed $5,000 for Mike to shop for a survey at the Apfel Simon Plat 1 Lot 168 property. Crandon Wilbur Woods Monitoring and Wilbur Woods Committee. Carol, that's you, right?
I think so. Me or Cheryl. So Cheryl had asked me a question about a monitoring report for Wilbur Woods because it appears on her master list. I have not been entirely clear what the trust's role in Wilbur Woods has been. But Cheryl did some research, and there is the trust has an interest in the lot that was to the west of the original plot of Wilbur Woods, which was then merged, and it is all owned by the town. You do technically have an interest over half of it. The garden club about 10 years ago hired me to do a BDR and management plan for Wilbur Woods, which the town then approved. Nothing really ever happened with it until sometime about a year and a half ago. The Wilbur Woods Committee was formed. My question was, I mean, the town is actively trying to fulfill this management plan, has now put together this committee of stakeholders, including police, fire, townspeople, users, et cetera, to try and make sure Wilbur Woods is getting the attention that it needs. I serve on that committee just as a resident volunteer. My question was, does the trust want a more active role? Do you want to, how do you want the trust's stewardship responsibility to play out with the town's role in managing Wilbur Woods?
For me, I would say, I'm glad to hear that explanation because I couldn't figure it out at all. And it came up during some of the hunting permission discussions. Anyway, for me, I would say, and I've talked to John Gwynn about this, he serves on that committee as well. Let your committee do the work. And if you find something specific you want us to do, talk to us about it. Otherwise, I don't need to enlarge our presence or responsibilities in Wilbur Woods. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay, can you deliver that message, Carol?
Certainly. I think it was really just all of you needing to decide for yourselves. I mean, and if everybody's good with that, certainly if I hear anything happening, I'll let you know. But I think it's being well looked after, or at least increasingly looked after from this group.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Thank you for that.
So do we need a stewardship report? Because that was my initial question. No stewardship report for our files?
No, not at this point. I would say no, because it's being managed by the municipality.
Okay.
And Bill, I think there's something on our agenda for tomorrow night, the town council's agenda, a request for RFP to go out related to Wilbur Woods. So we should just make sure there's good coordination on that.
Okay. Well, if the town council needs something from us about Wilbur Woods, we'll try to provide whatever's needed, but I really think that.
I don't think so. Just want to make sure you know.
Okay.
And just to clarify even further, from a legal perspective, the town does own all of it in fee. So you are partial interest in a portion of it, but they're definitely the lead, legal interest. So.
Right. Thank you.
Fine making that decision.
Okay. So moving on, management plan, Pine Bridge Realty. I read the plan. I like the plan. I'm more than willing to request a motion to approve it. My one comment is that what I would like to see happen at that property and maybe incorporated later into the plan is to see if we can hook it into the Dundee Brook Trail complex, if you will, because there's potential for that. There's water in the way in some cases, but there might be a route through there that would be a nice added loop to a trail that really gets used a lot by a lot of townspeople. So if we could work on that, I would like to see that as part of management of that property. Other than that, I thought the management plan was nice. Any other comments on the plan?
So to that point, Bill, when we acquired the property to the north of the pond from Richard Ross, lot 10 up there, with TNC, didn't we designate an area for a trail to continue all the way around to Willow Avenue to back to town?
Yes, there's an existing farm road that ends up at Derbyshire's place, and that could be a foundation, a starting point, or a partial part of what we're talking about here. So yeah, it's been all part of the conversation without a lot of follow through yet. But I just thought, in the context of this management plan specifically, it'd be a good thing to put in there because it is something we've been wanting to pursue.
No, I think that's a very good idea. And if it didn't interrupt the corn, even the ability to have a walking capability on the northern side of the planted area, so that you could work your way around to then come out on Willow Avenue, where we've just cleared that space across from St. Andrews.
Yep.
Would enable a loop that a lot of people have been asking about.
Exactly. So,
Bill, can I make one?
yes, please, Carol, go ahead.
I just had a couple of things. I just saw this recently. In the section addressing wetlands, just a note, the property actually isn't in a surface water protection area. I think that language came from Peckham. The surface water protection area is the watershed specifically of Watson Reservoir as a drinking water supply, and this is outside of that.
Okay.
You could keep all the water quality provisions, but it's not actually in that. Doesn't have that designation. And in addition, there really aren't any wetland buffers currently. So this property, the area that is currently in agricultural production, is pretty much all prime farmland soil, and almost the full extent of the rest of the property is wetlands. So there isn't really anything in there. And there was some language that talked about buffers that I think also came from Peckham that doesn't really apply here with the current use.
Could it? In other words, could there be buffers established?
You could add buffers to it if you wish to. There really isn't, that would at this point be a change in what's currently being used for agriculture. There isn't, cleared land or land used for anything else there. Drainage wise, I don't know that you would necessarily need to or want to. I just wanted to make sure that the language was accurate to the property.
Right. There's farmland to wetland buffer, and there's also potentially people to farmland buffer. So, Wayne and Rusty, are you willing to take these comments on board and do some revising?
Yep.
We'll work on it.
That'd be awesome. Great. I love what's there though. So if we can include these other thoughts, that'd be great.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. So the management plan for fee-owned properties, this is an example of that.
I'd like to interrupt for a minute, Bill. I'd like to
go ahead.
Start a management plan for Costas on the agricultural land at Costas for the next few months, see if we can get something going on that.
Great.
Okay.
One thing,
Carol.
with Costa, Wayne, I did all the field work for the BDR in the spring, and I'm delayed on getting the maps done. But if you want to just give me the next few weeks, I'll try to bump that up on the top of the list, and then you'll have all the information from the BDR and the maps to work with.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Nothing for Lash, nothing for PT Marble Preserve. So Acquisition Committee, Helger Bento is in executive. But while we're in public, well, who cares? It's going to be public. So Gene has accepted our offer. And the reason I mention it in public is because it would be great to get a BDR done there in the context of acquisition so that we don't have to go back afterwards and chase it. So what I would ask for, and it's new work outside of your scope of the contract, Carol, but what I would ask for is a motion to, I guess we would get a proposal from Carol to do a BDR there. We don't even need that. All I need is to ask Carol to give us a proposal for next month to do a baseline for Helger Bento, please. And in that context, the timing will be fine. If we approve it next month and put it at the top of your list, we'll be good.
I'd be happy to. Can someone just let me know if there's if there are any cutouts or anything like that? It doesn't really matter for the proposal.
Yeah, we can.
If there's anything
Yeah.
that people included.
Yeah, I can identify for you what we're talking about there. So that'd be good. So nothing at driver. BHS can come off. Nothing at Cotta West, Baldridge. Mike, where does Baldridge stand at the planning board?
We just subdivided that last night. And the property is going to be sold. It's under contract. Herb gets the new lot to the south, and they're selling the house to the north. And I think they hope to be able to close as soon as they can get back in town hall.
It's tough to do that through the window. We did it the other day. Okay, so that can come off.
Yep.
I still need to get with Billy Ryan. Ned, donation pending. Nothing at Rice Farm unless you have anything, Rusty.
No.
Jackson and Souza, I wasn't able to get with Joe. I don't know where he stands with them. So I'll chase that down. Wayne, maybe you want to update the group on your conversation about Manchester?
Yeah, I had a call from Debbie Albanaz the other day, and as you know, we had a appraisal started by Judy, and it was never finished because there was some big points and that she needed to have cleared up. So what it is two sisters own the property, and one sister is very much wants to do something with us, and the other sister has some doubts. Well, the one sister that wants to work with us wants to know if we can give her a number on the development rights purchase of the whole thing, and excluding a 5-acre envelope for a house, the house and the trailer. So since we had a appraisal in the works, I told her that we could probably maybe work a little backwards, get an appraisal, make her an offer. She could make an offer to her sister, and we could proceed that way. So Bill and I talked about it, and he was, Bill, you were supposed to get Judy
Right.
back onto the appraisal scene. It's kind of working backwards, but at least she'd have a figure, and maybe her sister would be enough for her sister to buy her sister's share out. And that way we would acquire the development rights on that piece. So it's a little bit backwards, but I think, you know, it might work out if the numbers come out.
Right. So refresh my memory, Wayne. How's Judy appraising it? She's taking what the existing house is out. She's
Yeah,
putting up putting 2 or 3 acres around them, and then extinguishing the lot in the middle and appraising it as one, correct?
Right.
Okay. And
You
we've
just-
already approved an appraisal there, so I can get her to just do that.
But I don't think, it's not gonna be a lot of money because most of the land is pretty wet. But
Right.
I think it ties in with a lot of land we have in the area, and I think it's for the effort and the time we're gonna spend on it, it might be worth pursuing it this way. And if we approve the money and she approves the money, then it'll work. But we got to have a figure to approach her with.
Okay, I dropped the ball on that. I'll have a number from Judy for next month. Thanks, Wayne. Nothing for Ratcliffe. Nelson's in executive. Goldstone is done. That was a donation of 6.7 acres off Grange Ave behind Arthur Goldstone's house. Booth is in executive. New business, volunteer outreach group update. Let's roll that together with Rusty's PowerPoint for a second here. We did Carol Wardell's compensation, the Venusti letter and deed to the monument. Unusual and kind of nice. Sentiments are nice. At this point then, Rusty, maybe I'll turn it over to you. You want to
So,
roll the power? Yes,
Do you
Cheryl?
want to go back to Venusti? I think they were looking for an answer as to whether you need to
Whether we want to accept it or not?
accept it and if you accept deed. Do you want to refer it to?
Yeah, I better ask Joe about how that works.
Well, I'm familiar with that project. That was a donation from these two to the trust. And it looks to me like she wants to just put a monument up in the middle of his lawn.
Well, it's there.
Huh?
They already did
I
it.
mean, yeah.
So they want to give us, the
not-
monument that's already on land that they gave us.
Pardon me?
They want to give us a monument that they built, arguably
Yeah.
without proper permission, on land that they already gave us. Is that kind of what's
Yeah.
happening here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's just vote to accept the damn thing and move on, I say, right?
I agree.
Okay,
mean,
do I hear that motion?
It's not farmland, it's lawn. They did that so future heirs cannot build anything else because they want to keep it like it is. So,
Okay,
so be it.
right on, baby. So,
I will approve it.
okay, so I heard the motion. Who seconded?
I'll
I'll
second.
Ellie seconded.
Who made the motion?
Wayne made the
Wayne?
motion. And all in favor?
All right.
All right.
Unanimous.
So
Thank you
Bill, I
very
guess
much.
you need to sign the deed.
I will sign the deed. Okay. Rusty, you're on.
All right. Now, I know that Carol distributed the stuff I put together to all the members, but if you think it's worthwhile, I think I can figure out how to share the screen for everyone else.
I think that'd be awesome. It'd be a new technological achievement for this group.
Oh, except I can't. The host has disabled it.
That's okay. Now, let me make you a co-host. And now you should be able to.
Okay. All right, let's see if we can make this work. So David asked a couple of months ago about what the pandemic was doing to the Ag Trust. What effect was it going to have? So I kind of let that bounce around for a little while, and I was going to try to answer that, and it quickly morphed into a bigger sort of thing, including my own doubts about the future of agriculture in Little Compton, as well as some points brought up by David over the course of my time on the board, and Larry Anderson's report out to the town council, which expressed some of the same doubts or concerns. So I tried to kind of frame it in that context to give us something to discuss, not necessarily to have any answers, but something to discuss. So I looked at some background leading up to the pandemic because it didn't make much sense to me to look at just the year 2020. We needed to see how things had changed over the course of time. I could find data from the 2000 census, some data from the 2019 census, and some data from the 2010. 2019 isn't a census, it's a community survey, but the Census Bureau does it. So put that together, taking out the intermediate years, so it kind of smoothed the data a little bit, and then kind of focused on the trends. I looked at 2020 separately, and then gave you some of my opinions, at least, so that hopefully we can start a conversation. Now, I think everybody who's been in Little Compton for a little while kind of looked at these numbers, and we all understood more or less that that was happening. But I'm a simple man, and pictures are good, so this kind of lent some impetus, some importance to these numbers, and the fact that our median age in town, even though the population has stayed relatively constant, the median age went from 43.5 years in 2000 to 57.8 years in 2019. So we've gotten considerably older in those 19 years, even though the population has stayed the same, relatively the same. We've also gotten richer per capita, and these numbers are compensated for inflation. So it's $2,000, $2,000 dollars for each year. And even when you adjust out the inflation, the per capita income raised 25% over the course of those 19 years, which in and of itself you'd think is quite good, and is quite good, actually. The median housing cost, same thing, it's adjusted for inflation. That rose 30% over the course of those 19 years. That may not be quite as good as making more money because it costs more to live here. But that certainly has been a trend that I think we all recognize, along with the other two in Little Compton, for more than the 19 years that I've articulated here. And then I started to look at, so what can I find about 2020? And the previous data was all from the Census Bureau. The data here was not ready from them yet, so it's a little bit across the sources I could find, and the sources are at the bottom. So sometimes the numbers won't match up exactly what other sources find, but I think the trends are still significant. And clearly over the past 3 years up through the end of 2020, the price jumped significantly. And that little spike there in December was up at just shy of 1.8 million as the median house price. As of today, the median house price is $1.6 million, up a little bit from the 1.57 that is listed there on December 18th. And we saw that last month in our review of the housing market, the transactions. And the average price of those transactions was almost 1.3 million, and that included two that were less than $100. So, the price of real estate in 2020 really went through the roof. Again, not something that was terribly surprising, but the amount that it went up kind of opened my eyes. So other impacts, and not necessarily in any order, but other impacts of 2020 that could have something that will play out with the Ag Trust includes the foreclosure market and the economy in general. And this is one company's forecast of potential foreclosures once government protection from foreclosures ends. And the middle case there, they roughly double. Now, this doesn't take into account the legislation that was passed and signed into law in December. So I'm not exactly sure where this would fall, but there's a real potential for a serious rise in foreclosures across the nation. And I don't think that Rhode Island or Little Compton, frankly, will be any different. Oh, sorry, wrong way. And the other thing that I looked at was the impact of the economic fallout from the pandemic on food. We're talking about agriculture as part of the Ag Trust, and I know David has some vignettes about the food banks in New Bedford, and Wayne was talking about the fact they're doing a lot more activity with food banks. And then of course we have Tom Young, who wants to start a food bank farm. But it surprised me, frankly, the numbers that this particular organization forecast for Rhode Island, and the fact that we're up across the board. And even in Newport County, they are forecasting a 46% increase in food insecurity, which just stuns me, frankly. So what I took away from those 19 years, is probably pretty straightforward for everybody who's looking at it. But, the permanent population in Little Compton had reached some sort of equilibrium after, some significant growth in about the 30 years prior to that. But when you couple that equilibrium with the aging demographic and the increased real estate prices, it seems to me like we had fewer opportunities for younger people to remain in town and to be able to raise their families here and afford to live here. It was also seemed to me that there was, because of that fact that the younger folks maybe weren't staying here, or they at least weren't moving in, we were getting more affluent people able to afford rising real estate prices, that we ended up with a much higher percentage of, or at least a higher percentage of the total population that wasn't well versed with agriculture and the economy, the agricultural economy. And I tried to look at the numbers of farmers in town, but frankly, the Census Bureau was all over the map with that. So I was unwilling to put any of that data in here. But empirically, my belief is that the ag population stayed relatively constant, just like the overall population of the town, but also got older. Now, albeit there were some younger folks that moved in, like the Walbachs and the Andrew Morleys, and now Tom Young, that I can't account for it statistically in any way. But my overall impression is that the average age of people who make a living from farming has gotten older. And then, of course, the real estate prices in 2020 and frankly, the just frenzy to buy property here has been quite dramatic, in my opinion. There's also been a surge in local interest of local agriculture. People that came to our retail operation were much more interested in where their food was coming from and how it was raised or grown. So, that's one of the good things, I think, for agriculture about the pandemic. People were more focused in local agriculture. Of course, last year, the drought impacted agriculture also in a negative way, but there was certainly, I think, much more retail business that went on in the ag operations here in town. I think that people had a good year on that side. I also think that more of our visitors, i.e. the summer folks, have just stayed here. They're able to work from here. There was a big rush in early. I think we all saw in the spring when this thing kind of hit, that were people trying to get away from what they perceived as a threatening environment to one that is safer. And I think there are more people staying here. There's certainly a lot of real estate for sale at 34 properties, as I said there, and several buildable lots. A couple of lots, now 3, I think, that are 20 acres or more are up for sale. We haven't seen the foreclosure impacts yet, but I think that's coming, and food banks are certainly doing a bumper business, unfortunately. So in my opinion, what does all that mean? I think the Ag Trust is going to see more competition for land that we want to preserve. and the prices are going to be higher. I think that spike at the end of 2020 will probably see a downward correction, but I think there's been a step function there, and it will continue to rise, i.e. we've gone from a median price that was on a fairly constant slope, and I think 2020 has just ratcheted that up, and whether that slope is the same in the future or steeper, I'm not sure, but I'm quite certain it's going to continue to increase. I think the permanent populations numbers are going to increase as well. Some of those people will be building new houses on lots they've just bought. Some of that property will be something that the Ag Trust may want, and now we're in competition with those folks trying to preserve the property versus build a house there. And we could see some activity in foreclosures here and food insecurity, both of which could have an impact on the Ag Trust. Mostly the food insecurity, I think, is up our alley to try to get people to participate more in ag, hopefully with an offshoot that will help feed people around the area. Oops, sorry. Now with, again, my personal opinion, and this is all to engage the board with some discussion either tonight or maybe next month after we think about it for a little while. With escalating real estate prices, some competition for available land for people who want to build houses and get out of urban settings into something they perceive as more less threatening, more safe. How does a young farmer get started? Tom Young is a great example, I think, to come to us to look for property. I think we should continue doing that. And I know the outreach committee has been looking at that. We'll get into that here probably after I'm done speaking. But there's also an opportunity for some of the current landowners. As I mentioned, there's three listings of over 20 acres of people who are getting ready to liquidate their property at a premium price. And there are probably people out there who are willing to pay for it. And the examples, 1960 to 1980 in Little Compton, everything on Aquidneck Island has happened with farms being sold. I think there's going to be more of that pressure because of what's happened in 2020. It's just going to accentuate what had been happening in the 20 years prior. I'm also of the opinion that the increased interest in local food is going to clash with people who don't necessarily have a good background with commercial agriculture. And they've moved into town with a certain perception, and that perception isn't meshing with the reality. And you have concerns of traffic, the noise, perhaps animal rights, or whatever it is. And it could result in a lot of pressure for more agricultural regulation. And I moved away from town for a long time. When I came back and got back into the ag world, I don't have a lot of past experience there for that time I was away, but everything I've seen since I've been back, the proposals of regulation, not in Little Compton alone, but around us, have, for the most part, been something that was meant to constrain agriculture as opposed to foster it. And the debacle in Westport and some of the other things that go on around town, around the local area here, when you get that pressure of people who don't necessarily have that background in an agricultural or agrarian area, I think that's going to increase and put more pressure on agriculture in town. So something that I think we should talk about, and obviously, Bill, it's kind of up to you to determine whether or not we want to go ahead with any of this, is to discuss where we want to go as a board. We don't need to do anything different necessarily. I think at the very least, though, we need to roll out that communication plan and educate people about what we do and what agriculture in Little Compton means to them, so that we can, try to take some of what I see as future pressure off the commercial agriculture side of town here. But we also have an opportunity maybe to do a more comprehensive strategy of how we approach landowners, which landowners we approach. Do we do it preemptively, or do we continue what we're doing and kind of wait for people to come to us? Do we try to actively assist and recruit young farmers to move to Little Compton and set up farms? How do we go about it in the future? And what should we do? How much should we engage the rest of the town government? Because potentially some of these things would have implications outside of the Ag Trust if we chose to go there. But this is something that we as a board, I think, should discuss in the coming months. And not very far in the future, we probably need to decide if we're going to continue doing what we're doing, which is obviously not bad. We've been very successful at it, and keep working on the communication plan, or if we want to do something a little bit different and go potentially a little further.
Bill, when the time is appropriate, Ned Levine has his hand up to speak.
Okay. 1 second, Ned. I would say, Rusty, thanks very much for that effort, and very, very relevant thoughts, very, very good thoughts. As far as prompting us to just put a plan together and to pick some things to emphasize, I agree with you. We do need to do that. And as you point out, we have started that. The Outreach Committee, as we know, has really 3 functions, one of which directly relates to increasing farming on Ag Trust land. And I think that is most relevant to the points you just raised. And I think we've identified sort of the low-hanging fruit, and we're working on those. In other words, we've tried to identify the properties that someone could go farm this spring, and we're trying to find farmers for them. And, Tom being one of them. Wayne has some discussions going about Amesbury Lane. There's some other properties out there. Maybe some of the existing farmers could expand into some other property. So I think we need to keep working those things immediately. That's obvious. The larger picture, which you and I discussed a little bit in the background via email, which Carter Wilkie's really working on, in terms of really trying to build the local farm economy, recruit more farmers, or support potential new farmers, is something I personally think the Ag Trust should be supporting. And we should be exploring concrete strategies on how to do that, because for 2 reasons. One, it's part of our fundamental mission, but 2, we're going to, as you point out, some of our existing farmers are aging, and there's going to have to be some transition on some of our existing, particularly larger properties. So we need to start planning for that as well. And then, finally, I think, do you make a huge effort? Young Family Farm was for sale. That's a big chunk of farm for someone starting out to bite off. Would it be more realistic if an organization, or if you had a Wagner type person buy it and allow sub tenants to farm it or something like that? I mean, you could think it as big as that, right? So I would say all those types of discussions and thoughts ought to be on our table, and we ought to organize those into action plans and actions. So I think it's a terrific way to start the discussion and continue some of the existing discussions. So thanks for that.
You want to get to Ned, but I'll circle back when you're done.
Okay, go ahead, Ned. Ned, you're
Ned, your mic
muted.
is off.
There you go.
Here I am, sorry. First of all, say thanks to Rusty because I thought this was a very well put together statement about things that need to be thought about and hopefully addressed. And I wanted to let you know that the volunteers who are working and thinking about these things would be very receptive to an expanded charge or further assignments if that seems to be the way you'd like to go. So I think there are many things that we could put together that would respond to Rusty's points, and we could put them together in a way that they could be considered by the board for action before anything really happens. So just want to make sure that you know that resource is available.
Thank you. Go, David.
So I think we're really talking about, if we get away from the land piece, we also have to think about how we as an organization can help form what I would call cooperative efforts between the farmers, because they don't talk much to each other, and how we can help diminish a lot of the restrictions that are on farmers. If we look at a lot of the international models, now the governments basically say, this is what you guys are going to do, and this is how we're going to control this aspect of that agriculture, and this is how we're going to increase your sales and your revenue. A good example is in New Zealand, where, I don't know how many of you know it, but New Zealand is the largest exporter of dairy products in the world because their government decided that they could do that, and they forced the farmers to cooperate with each other in marketing together. And my feeling is that, I mean, there's a guy right up my street who's growing chickens and on Ted Duffield's land, and he had 150, he didn't even know anything about what the Ag Trust does. And he had 150 chickens last year. He had to slaughter them by hand with an axe in the backyard because he couldn't get them into the abattoir. And so there's that bottleneck that Rusty knows about and Treaty Rock Farm knows about getting cattle slaughtered. But we're libertarians, and we live in Little Compton, and naturally we don't want to cooperate too much, and farmers are kind of like fishermen. They don't like to cooperate with each other. But I think we have to, and Ned's group is doing a terrific job. And I think somehow we have to figure out a way to bring the young farmers together. Maybe we promote somebody from a publicity point of view. This is what this guy's doing. He's clearing it. And by the way, he's now renting a house from Ted Duffield, which I would call affordable housing on a farm. And that whole concept of sharing an equipment, co-oping with equipment, apparently it's being done on Aquidneck Island to a certain extent. And I think that's, we have the organization, we have the constant revenue. So those are my inputs to help from a equipment and a personnel point of view to help them mesh. And I think Ned's group can do that, can help.
Thank you. Rusty, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer that whichever way you want to go, I'm prepared to jump in and help with this, either join in Ned's group, or if you want to make a separate offshoot, or whatever you want to do to further this discussion until we come to some resolution, or whether you want to just put forward possible solutions for people to look at, or however you want it to go, that I'm happy to jump in.
Great, thank you.
Well, I'll volunteer for that, whatever group wants to work on this, because I think there are a lot of elements that fit together, and certainly in working with the comp plan and trying to understand the dynamics of Little Compton and how they relate to the rest of the state play to this whole subject.
Okay, well, I guess I would say this to close this discussion for tonight. I think we have a combination of Wayne and Rusty working on trying to get Tom or some other farmers onto Amesbury Lane and some of those properties on Grange Ave. And there's other potential properties that we can offer to lease to people right now. And I think, you know, we could make a larger list and of identified properties. We've met a group has worked on that. I've looked, we have a current list of our fee-owned properties that we could share, and we could say, maybe there's someone from outside, maybe there's another Tom out there who's interested in a property like this, or maybe, I don't know, maybe, you know, Andrew and Laura need extra grazing, or, you know, whatever it may be. Somebody wants to raise a few sheep, maybe Marvel at Warren's Point or something like that, you know? So I think what we want to do is, first thing to do is try to maximize what we have. And we've worked on the fee lands list. Let's, Wayne, you haven't seen the, I don't know if you saw Ned's revisions to that list, but what I would suggest is Wayne, Rusty, myself, maybe we review that list and we say, this land is good for this, and who's a candidate to go on it. That would be the first thing we should do. It's very concrete. It gets people out farming. And then I would say we perhaps we get together with the outreach committee, particularly Carter Wilkie's section of it. And I would encourage you to get involved with this, Rusty, particularly. Carter has a lot of ideas and has identified a lot of resources to encourage farmers, recruit farmers, increase farming in a given community. And I think we should support and piggyback on that work with Carter. So those are the two immediate prongs that I would suggest we pursue. Anybody else on that subject? So I'm going to reach out to Wayne and Rusty on this fee list. We'll get together and look at it and make some notes. And Rusty, if you could continue talking to Carter and see about, particularly on the recruitment, young farmer side of things. That would be, I think, where we would immediately start. And then I would ask Cheryl to put this, I don't know what we're calling this item, but put it back on next month so that if our members have further thoughts a month later, we can bring them up and it may lead to another course of action. Thanks again, Rusty.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so the housing trust letter. Carol, has anyone showed up that we don't see on our list here? Carol Wardell?
Sorry, I had to mute myself because of the dogs. No one has shown up.
Okay, so we've seen their letter. This is a hardy perennial. Subject comes around every spring, fall, some season or another. My response is the same, which is, I believe our opportunity to work with the Housing Trust is to, when we are in a acquisition mode for a fee property, should the seller be willing to work with the housing people to say, we have this property, the seller's willing to sell some of it to you for housing purposes, and agree on what that piece of that property would be. And then we kind of have to go our separate ways, because I feel quite strongly that we are not in the development business. And in fact, everything about our rules, regulation, charter, and most importantly, support and trust in the community is to conserve and promote agriculture and open space and the environment, watershed protection, etc. We know the list of items. And I think to expend resources of ours, even if we could legally, which I don't think we can, but say someone found a way to do it, I think it would be a betrayal of that trust and support, and would really hurt our overall efforts within the community. So that's my feeling on the housing trust. I'm willing, more than willing, and we've reached out a couple of times. It hasn't happened yet. There's been a couple of properties where they were involved in the initial discussions, and then they sort of got left by the wayside. But anyway, that's my feeling about my current answer to the housing trust. If anyone feels differently, let me know or speak now. But that's what I feel our position should be. Okay, with all that, everybody all right with that? Okay, so then is John Berg here?
Yes, he is.
You're on, John. Nature Conservancy update for that beautiful mugshot you like to put up on your screen.
There we go. Can you actually see me?
No, we can see your license picture.
Oh, really? Okay, I don't have the option here. Well, if I do the video, your settings are different.
As license pictures go, it's a pretty good one.
You know what I look like? I'm glad you put the Pine Bridge Ponce trail thought out there, Bill. I think that's a great idea to have another door into Dundry Brook Trail. I'd be glad to work with anyone else on that who wants to think about that a little more if it needs any coordination. I'll keep it quick. We closed with BHS. They donated lot 37 to us last month, which was the wood lot where the brook runs through at the corner of Pottersville and Amesbury Lane. And we have an agreement now with Kevin and Deb Sanford, who have 67 acres just north of Jeannie Bento and 8 Rod Way. Actually, it's the next farm up. So we'll protect. He's put a solar installation on 9 acres there. Tiverton allows commercial solar, but we'll protect the farmland for farming, including the solar operation, which is going to be a dual use. He's going to have sheep and bees there. And then when the solar expires, that'll return to ag. And then we'll have 45 acres of forest and conservation. So it's part of a bigger block. You know, I'm working pretty hard to try to spend some oil spill money for Michelle. So I'll just leave it at that. And when I have a deal, I'll let you know what we're talking about. Yeah, I don't know if you need to talk with me anymore about Booth. I think you're in pretty good shape up there with Michelle, but
yeah,
if it's a problem, come back to me.
I spoke with Michelle today. And it's in executive. But
okay.
Yeah, you're right. Your summary is correct. We're in pretty good shape there.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, John. No new applications. No other comments. Hearing that, I believe my mission now is to, what do I do? Poll my members to approve entertain a motion to go into executive session.
You need to state for the purpose.
For the purpose of discussing acquisition deals, pending acquisitions.
Make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So we're going to go do that.
So has Cheryl sent out another?
Sending it right now as we speak.
Okay.
We'll see you all in a second here. Thank you, Anya.
Aye.
Jamie.
She's had a cake?
Yeah. What is this?
It's a dump cake with banana pudding. Pretty good, right? Hello. Oh, I can't get to my.
Holy cow, we're getting good at this.
Getting better anyway. Mike, are you all set?
I can see you. I don't know. I got a picture that says we're in executive session, but then,
No, Mike,
Nope.
you need to leave this meeting and enter into the other meeting.
okay.
Go to your, so close out of this one, go to your email and click on the link I just sent you for exec.
Right, and yeah, Wayne needs to do the same thing.
Jamie, did you get that?
Link, yeah.
Something just came back. I don't know what.
All I see is you and I.
Yep, hang on one second.
Did you get it?
It's saying Holly Berry Gal at Verizon.net got bounced back to me.
Send again.
I'll send it again.
You got it spelled right?
I think so. HOLLY BERRY. It's the same one I used earlier. It's
Yeah,
coming from
that's weird.
MKD48, Jamie.
Waiting. I'll be different. Okay.
You got it?
Let me look at my spam. Not yet.
Who's Jamie, Wayne's technical assistant?
Yes, his daughter. Admit. Admit.
This will be it.
Admit.
I think it went to my spam. Hang on, I have it. Let's see.
Admit.
I gotta mark it as not spam. Where do I do that?
Did you get it?
It's in my spam, but now it's not letting me. I gotta delete it as it's, so it makes it so it's not spam.
Okay.
You
But
you should have something that says junk that you can highlight over that and it have a drop down to say recognize as not spam.
Wayne's on his way. He'll be here in 1 second.
Here we go.
Well, as I mentioned,
Okay. Here we go. Hang on.
we have a signed
Here we go.
memorandum of understanding.
Jamie, I think you need to step out of this meeting before you try to sign into the other one. Jamie, I think you need to step out of this meeting before you try to sign
Oh,
into the other one.
okay. Let's see. It's not letting me get out of this. Leave. Okay.
There you go. And Cheryl, before you go to the other one, there are ways that we can make your executive session longer by using my account.
Hi, Carol, we're coming back. Oops, headphones.
That was quick.
Hi, Carol, we're coming back.
Okie dokie. That was quick.
Yeah, we don't take too much time. They pretty much get through it, you know?
I saw that David's evidently wanting to expand your 40 minutes in the executive session. That can be done if you need to.
What was that?
I said that can be done. I can do 2 meetings. I just need to make sure that this first one is set for, say, 4 or 5 hours so that I can have you do your executive session in a different one and then come back to this one.
Okay,
So if ever you need an executive session that needs to be longer than 40 minutes, we can do it.
okay. My other thought was maybe we move it to the beginning of the meeting.
Well, that can happen too. Either way, it works both ways.
And we could just schedule it to start at 7:10 or whatever.
Right. Okay, we have a quorum. Do I have a motion to adjourn the public session of the Little Compton Agricultural Conservancy Trust for January 2021?
Before you do that, if you took any votes in executive session, you do need to disclose them.
What did we do? We voted to
Well, not the ones
approve.
with money, though.
You need to disclose the fact that you took votes. If you voted to seal those minutes, then that needs to be disclosed as well.
Right. So you need to make a motion, Bill, to seal the minutes. Then we don't have to disclose the votes.
Okay. In this,
Make the motion, to seal the meeting of the executive session.
Second.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And,
Now you can adjourn.
okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, thanks, everyone. We're adjourned. Thank you, Carol Wardell.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And
So
welcome.
long.
February.
Bye, guys.